All right, so in this video, we're going to go over the operating cash flow tab. And so we will start off in the header, and then we'll head down into the specific line items, and we'll do an overview really of how a traditional hotel pro forma is set up, because it's unique compared to all the other real estate asset classes. All right, so to start off in the header, we have our year info. So we have our fiscal year, the actual calendar year, the year ending date. And then below that, we have our number of rooms. And then we have our available rooms per year, which is our number of rooms multiplied by days of the year. And then our occupied rooms per year, which is our available rooms multiplied by the occupancy rate. And then below that, we have an important input here. We have our occupancy rate. And so in this tab, in this row, in row 10, is where every year you're going to project out the occupancy rate growth. And so as you can see, all the cells are blue, so that indicates it's an input. And so below that, we have our average daily rate. So year one, you're going to put in your input here. And then every year after that, you'll go to row 12 and you have your ADR growth rate. And here's where you're going to project your actual growth rate every year. And so below that, we have our revenue per available room, otherwise known as RevPAR, which is our ADR multiplied by our occupancy rate. And that's really it for the header. So the only thing that's important to note from operating the model is that we have our blue cells here. So you have to make sure you come to this cell to dial in your occupancy rate, your ADR, and your ADR growth. All right, so now let's move into our line items here. And let's focus in on a high level. We can do a brief overview about hotel pro formas in general. So you'll notice that hotel pro formas are different than other asset classes. And one of the main differences here is you'll notice we have this broken out into departments. So we have departmental revenues, we have departmental expenses, and then we have departmental profits. And this is really because, in addition to collecting rent on rooms every night, there's a bunch of other potential profit centers. So you have F&B and you have other operating departments. And so, it's really, it's good to be able to look at each of these potential profit centers independently and be able to check to see if they're profitable, if they're losing money. This gives you really the ability to hone in on specific revenue generators and see if there might be some potential opportunities there. And so in our departmental revenue section, we have our rooms revenue, we have F&Bs, and within there, we have dialed in here a room service, bar, restaurant, banquet catering. You have the ability to put in a fifth option. And you'll notice here that all of this is coming in from our F&B tab, which we'll go over in our next tutorial. Then below that, we have our other operating departments. And again, you have the ability to put in 5 departments here, or 5 revenue generating departments here, and this comes in from our other operating departments tab as well. And so scrolling down, we have our departmental expenses, and you'll notice that all the subline items are identical to the subline items in our total revenue. And so really, this gives us the ability to measure each of the departments individually, and you can see, for example, what's the bar's revenue against its profit. What's its revenue against its expenses, and then you can check out the profit below. And so these line items are identical to these line items, and then the departmental profit line items are identical as well. So you can see we have our revenues less expenses equals our profit. All right, so that's it for the departments, and then underneath that we have our undistributed expenses. And here are just expenses that can't be really attributable to any of the departments. We have G&A, credit card fees, sales and marketing, our franchise fees, IT, repair and maintenance, and utilities. And then for franchise fees, in our, let's see what the tab is. In our other expenses tab, you have the ability to break franchise fees out more specifically. And so that, if you wanted to take a look in more detail, you can open up this group here, and if not, you just roll it back up. And so our departmental profit less our undistributed expenses gives us gross operating profit. And then we have our management fee, and we'll go over that in our other expenses tutorial. And then below that, we have our fixed expenses. And then obviously we will take our gross operating, oh, what's this? All right, great catch. So in the 1.0 model, I actually had franchise fees broken out from undistributed expenses. And in this time, I'm actually rolling them up. And so actually, let's fix this. So we need to actually remove C73 here. All right, and let's just double check that it's actually being added. Okay. Okay. All right, so now I need to actually copy this down because I think we're double counting our franchise fees. Yep. So let's just bring this down. And this is going to boost our NOI here. All right. All right, now we are good to go. All right, so EBITDA is our gross operating profit less our management fee less our fixed expenses. And then we have our capital and FF&E reserve, which is coming in from other expenses, and that goes to our NOI. And so one other thing to mention before we wrap this video up is that this sheet is also conditional formatted, and you'll notice that we have a 10-year hold, but we're showing year 11 because we want to show the year after the exit, because when we pull our exit cap, we actually pull it off of our the following year's NOI. So for example, let's make this a 6-year hold, for example. Come back here and you'll see that we have year 6 and then it shows year 7. And if we come to our summary tab and we come to our exit assumptions, you'll see we have this formula here. It's basically an index match formula that says, you know, pretty much find year 6. If this is year 6, find the next year's NOI. So you'll see here we have the summary, which is C13, so 6 plus 1. And then you'll divide it by our exit cap rate. All right, and so that wraps up our review of this tab in our hotel acquisition model.